Hi guys, I'm Leah and welcome to Living and Losing, my brand new podcast, which is all about life, mental health, physical health, and ADHD. On this episode, I'm welcoming Lauren Jennings, who is actually an ambassador for ADHD UK, and she does pageantry. She's got ADHD. She was diagnosed in her mid-20s, just like me. You'll see how much we relate in this episode as two complete strangers talking for the first time, and there's just so much that we can relate to. We've got different backgrounds. It's just crazy, like how having ADHD as a woman, that you meet people and you just connect with them instantly. Lauren's lovely, so I can't wait for you to hear a bit about her.
So my name's Lauren. I am from Essex. I'm 28. I nearly said 27 then. I'm 28. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I was 25 years old, and I've been speaking about my lived experience with ADHD and neurodiversity for the past 2 years. And I'm a Super National UK finalist.
I was 26, so late diagnosed as well. Like, it wasn't actually until a few years ago I sort of realised what ADHD was. In school, it was like naughty boys running around, and it just goes missed in women so much because it's so different, isn't it?
100%. I had an idea that something was there, but I wasn't really sure what it was. And then when more information about women specifically with ADHD sort of come to light, my whole family was like,
That's you.
yeah. And
Yeah.
even to this day, I had a message from my mum today, even though I've been diagnosed for a couple of years now, going, "This is so you," and it's like talking about ADHD and things like
It sort of
that.
makes you feel like validated almost, like finally I understand why I am the way I am, because I actually went back and forth to the doctors for years and it never got picked up on. And in school as well, I would chatter to anyone and everyone, no matter where my teacher would move me. It didn't matter. I'd start a conversation with someone else. I was high grade in year 7, 8, and then it just deteriorated.
Same.
Literally every lesson, I would be in my own world, but nobody picked up on it.
I understand that completely. When I was in year 7, I got invited to a gifted and talented type of thing, like educational thing. And then it got to about year 9, and that was it. I just sort of every year I got put into lower sets. I was like, what's going on? But it was actually that I was focusing on the things that I really enjoyed. So, like sports and music and all of the interests that I had that then resonated with those lessons. But if I wasn't interested, that was it. Also, I had to get tutored to pass my maths in the end. I had I think it was 6 months to pass my GCSE in the end because I had to redo it for maths. Couldn't get it. Still don't get maths to this day, but I ended up doing it at the very last minute, which is so typical of me.
With homework in school, I'd avoid it, but when it was stuff like college work, I'd leave it till the night of that
That's
it
it.
was due, and I'd be like, bam, 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 whack it out. It's almost like I crave the panic, and I just
Yeah.
don't. Yeah, it's like I can do it if I'm panicking, but I can't if I know there's time to do it. It's like really crazy.
It's so true though, and that's the thing. It's like procrastination
Oh
is
yeah.
real, but then you need that sort of urgency to be able to get things done. And my most productive hours are like 11 p.m. at night. So I'm like, that's when I come alive. I'm like, right, I'm going to sort my life out now. I'm going to do everything that I need to do.
At night time, I'm like, oh my God, I can conquer anything.
It's so nice to speak to someone else that's been in a similar situation and has that their own personal like lived experience. I was once a DJ. I did DJing for a bit, wasn't very good at it, but I really was intensely into it for a couple of weeks. I've also done jiu-jitsu. I did that when I was a child, and then I went back into it
Yeah.
as an adult. There's so many different hobbies that I've had that I've loved for a period of time, then I've just sort of gone on to the next sort of thing, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. But
Yeah.
pageantry has stayed, and it's the longest hobby I think I've ever had.
I start new hobbies all the time.
100%.
I'm guessing it's very different to how it used to be years ago, pageantry. Like, it's more positive and uplifting now, isn't it? It used to be very focused on body image years ago, whereas now, like, for example, in the bariatric pageant.
Honestly, Miss Essex was the first ever pageant completed, and when I was in that pageant, I was like just so overjoyed by the fact that I'd actually done it. You know, I put myself out there, and I met amazing friends, and I just continued. I just continued to be in pageants because every time I felt more empowered, more confident. I felt like I really found,
Your niche.
yeah, my
Yeah.
people and my niche and what I really enjoyed. And I think because I'm so passionate about talking about ADHD and neurodiversity, it literally was just like two things that I really enjoy fused together. And
Yeah.
for me, that's why I continue, to make friends, to build the confidence within myself. And it's not essentially just the pageant that builds confidence, it's what I bring to that pageant, what I bring to the table.
You can basically be like your most authentic self.
Exactly.
Like if it makes you feel that good, like that's probably why you've stuck to it for so long. It's giving you that dopamine.
Exactly that. And I've been in the pageant world now for, it will be 2 years in April that I was announced for my first ever pageant. I just absolutely love them. Everyone is literally so amazing, and it's just it's an environment where we're championed to be our authentic selves and put our best foot forward. And I feel like being around such great people, and that
Brings out your best self.
yeah, and ever since being in pageantry, I've spoken about my lived experience of ADHD, but I've also now grown to having my own series called Behind the Mask, where I talk about the masking element of neurodiversity, which is something that I really wanted to speak about for quite some time. And it's not just my own lived experience; it's also other people's that we're talking about on there, on all different types of neurodiversity.
So do you do that every week?
I do that as and when. So I'll have guests on. I do have a Calendly link sort of in my Instagram bio that people have clicked on, but I've also asked people to be on Behind the Mask themselves, because I just feel like Behind the Mask is a thing where you can talk about the mask and neurodiversity without judgment, without, and helping someone else. So when I've had guests on, it has been sort of, I guess I would say once a month, or maybe like two a month. But it's really just when I connect with people and they want to share their own story. And I feel like sharing your own story is such a powerful thing to do, because you never know who's listening. It could be on social media, everyone's got access to everything all over the world. So it's like anyone could be listening. You don't know who you're going to help. You don't know who you're going to inspire.
Exactly.
And it's just such a great thing. So by doing that, I feel like it's really helping other people, but also it helps me because I get to connect with loads of people.
It's
And
like
yes,
therapy session, isn't
yeah,
it? It's like
100%.
relating to someone and talking about like shared experiences. I
Definitely.
find it is like a therapy in itself, like
Yeah.
just finding that common ground. So did you go through right to choose or NHS or private or
So I'm very fortunate. I went through the NHS route, which I know is it's not the same for everyone. And
everywhere's different, isn't it?
yeah,
Waiting lists and everything. I
yeah,
have heard like to get medication it takes longer that way though.
yes. This is where my sort of travel has come in, because I did have Concerta. Not only did I have it once, I also tried it twice. So I went back and tried it again, and it was doing the same thing, the same effects. And I knew it helped me with my focus, which is why I was like, oh no, I need to try another type of medication. But then I sort of done a little bit of research into different medications, and like sort of looking at the ingredients and stuff. I sort of went
It's
into
quite
a rabbit
scary.
hole. Yeah, I sort of went into a rabbit hole, and I was like, no, you know what? I'm just going to speak to my psychiatrist, but then actually
Yeah.
waiting for that call.
Did you have like a massive high and then a drop, like a come down?
Oh, when I
That's
on my first day, because it's straight away, isn't it? It's a stimulant medication that
yeah,
starts straight away. On my first day, I was okay. On my second
yeah.
day, no, I was not. Um, that was the day that I was like, oh, this is like, I don't know what this is sort of doing. And in the day, I'm like really positive. I'm doing all of my work. I'm consistent. And then when it comes to night time, I just shut down. I literally just shut down.
Like it made me so depressed that
Yeah,
I didn't want to be here anymore. But I knew I was very self-aware, like I knew it was the medication because that was the only thing that had changed.
yeah,
Like, so that's why I was like, I'm gonna have to stop. And it made my ADHD symptoms worse. Like I had rejection sensitive dysphoria tenfold.
yeah,
So I'd overthink everything. If someone looked at me a certain way, they might have just looked at me, but I was thinking, oh fuck, like what have I done? Have I upset someone?
yeah,
And everything was just like 10 times worse. My mind was actually racing more.
yeah.
My heart rate was really high, and I just felt like it was making me more ADHD.
I
And
understand.
then it was affecting like my mental health massively. So I just completely stopped it now until my next appointment. And I'm hopefully going to try a non-stimulant. I really hope because I'm on antidepressants, because I know that antidepressants take like 4 to 6 weeks to start working. I'm used to that.
Yeah,
And I'd rather that with ADHD medication. If I've gone this long without it, I can wait like 4 to 6 weeks for
Yeah.
something to start working if it's not going to have the negative effects of a stimulant medication.
Of course, yeah, I completely understand that. And to be honest with you, I think I might be in a similar boat when I do have my next call with the psychiatrist to say
Yeah,
I do also want to try non-stimulant medication just because of my experience with Concerta. So I do
yeah. It
totally
scared
understand.
me.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. And it did scare me as well, to be honest with you, a little bit,
Yeah.
because I was like, oh, I don't know now, like what am I thought, not that I never thought it was gonna, take away the
Yeah.
ADHD, because it's just not gonna happen. It's with me for
You
life.
just
But
feel like a loss, don't you? You finally got your diagnosis and you're like, right, I can get help. Maybe I can have some quiet. But I actually never had quiet on the medication. I
right,
never actually had any quiet. Like I still had all the noise.
yeah,
Um, I did feel like I had a rocket up my arse. Like I was round the house tidying and doing all the things that I couldn't before.
yeah,
Like the first day I had it, I put all my washing away. I completely tidied my room and I was like, oh my God, this is what I've struggled to do my whole life.
yeah.
Like, and I'm doing it and I felt so positive. But the more I took it every day, I was like, actually, the come down effect, that's where I'm not enjoying it. And my heart rate getting really high and the anxiety, it had more negatives than positives for me.
I understand. I also love caffeinated drinks. Like I want to have a fizzy drink or two, or
I have a monster every now and again.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Same
I love
energy
a
drinks.
monster.
Yeah, energy drinks are literally, I know, you shouldn't drink too much of them, but for me, when I have caffeine or a caffeinated drink, I can go to sleep. And I'm like, I've been
It
like that
has the
since.
opposite effect on ADHD, doesn't
Yeah,
it? Like, I literally yesterday had a coffee, like a Costa coffee, and then I went for a nap.
yeah,
Like, it's not the same for us as it is. It is a self-medication. Like,
yeah.
some parents are now actually giving their kids coffees to treat their ADHD.
Wow,
I saw something like this one mum, all it takes is one coffee a day for her young son, and it helps him.
and that's
So,
it.
like, whatever works, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
I know Monster's not good and everything, but, like, so what?
I do like an energy drink, but as well, like we were saying about Harry, it's different for us. I know that some of my friends would be like, "Oh, I can't have a coffee too late at night," and I'm like,
I can have
"Oh,
one anytime. I think I've had about six today already, and it's
honestly,
terrible.
I
But
get
if
it
I
though."
had one on ADHD meds, though, my heart rate was like 160.
Yeah, I feel like trying the non-stimulant medication route will be a journey in itself, and I feel like,
Yeah,
I'm excited for you to start that journey as well. And you get to learn what's right for you and what's not right for you, and what might be right for someone else doesn't mean it's going to be right for you, because it's your
exactly.
own sort of path.
We've all got our own bodies. One thing will never work for two people. But I really hope you manage to get your non-stimulants sorted as well. My one friend recently got diagnosed on the NHS, and then she's been told it's a 9-month waiting list for medication.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
the shortage of medication is something that I've been talking about quite often,
Yeah,
and I think it's a really big thing, because I know that some people that are on ADHD medication are then rationing their medication, and it's like, if that's
you
been.
shouldn't have to do that.
Exactly, and it is such a big ordeal, and it's actually the worst in the UK. Is the worst for like the shortage at this
Yeah,
moment in time, which is it's just not fair for people with ADHD who are on that medication, that are have that every single day, and also for us that are trying medications and maybe need to go on something different, but then it's that waiting thing, and it can really cause sadness and disruption to the everyday without having that medication. So it is a really big thing that I think more people should know about, this ADHD medication shortage that is going on, which is why I speak about it.
I'm very pro medication. I've always seen it as if you broke a bone, you'd have a plaster. If you have an iron deficiency, you'd take iron tablets. And it's very much the same with antidepressants like serotonin. I know so many people that feel ashamed about taking medication.
Yeah,
And I'm like, treat it no different than a broken bone. If you need something to help you, then so be it. Like you can get depression from an event, like say you lost a family member, but if you've got depression, you don't know why, that's definitely a chemical imbalance. You're obviously lacking serotonin. And it's the same with us. Like, we don't create enough dopamine.
yeah,
Like, it baffles me, like, how people can get up, drink 2 liters of water a day, go to the gym.
yeah.
They can just get so much done. And I'm just like, I can't even put my washing away.
Yeah, no, I understand that completely. One thing I will say about my everyday is that um Exercise has been a really big thing for me. And
It's a natural dopamine, isn't it?
yeah, and it
Yeah.
was one of the things that I think, in place of medication, exercise has been something that's really, really
Helped.
helped me. Yeah,
Swimming is one thing that really helped me because I
yes,
found
me
when I'm
too.
swimming, I've got no distractions, no social media, can't be on my phone. So I found like swimming lengths back and forth. That was amazing for me. And I think that's
100%.
the only thing like that I can really stick to because I know I got no external distractions. Whereas if I go on a bike in the gym, I could go on my phone still.
Yeah, that's
It's
exactly it.
terrible.
Oh, when I'm on the treadmill, sometimes I must admit I do go on TikTok and things like that. But when you are in
But
the
if you're
hot tub,
getting the work done.
yeah, this is true. But
It does release that like natural dopamine, doesn't it? Like I sometimes I've ran on the treadmill, got off, and I actually feel like I'm floating. It's like
yeah,
you just feel like amazing.
yeah, 100%. That's exactly how I've been feeling. I've been doing a challenge for Mind Charity. This is my third year completing the challenge, and it's 31 days of exercise.
I feel like if I set myself a challenge, I like to prove that I can do it.
Exactly. That's
Yeah,
exactly it.
especially if someone tells me I can't do something as well, that makes me
Then
want to
that's
do it even more. But it's when I start telling myself I can't do it, that's when like I have RSD, so I do get that. I'm not good enough. Like, and I had that when I announced the podcast because I had this, like, I had so much excitement and guests and stuff lined up, and then I was like, I can't keep up. Like, what's the point? Like it's this constant like thought of like rejection. It's like hard to explain it, but you know what I mean. um
100%.
but then I need to realize like I'm doing it for me, not for I'm doing it for other people as well, obviously. But I mean, like if it's something I enjoy, who cares if you only get 5 people listening or something? Like if it brings you joy, just do it. It's not about you need to like look after yourself and do things that you enjoy.
One of the things when I started Behind the Mask was that's very similar to what you're saying about your podcast. To be honest with you, I was a bit like, oh, what if no one listens, or what if no one, understands, or what's going to happen with it? But then I didn't have that many viewers at first, but then now, over the past year, I've got a lot more people watching. And
Yeah.
going back to the first ones as well, and it's not actually about the amount of people that are watching. It's if 3 people have watched it, those 3 people might be inspired, or they might have their
Yeah.
lives changed, all because of
Yeah.
what's been said on the
All it
podcast.
takes is one person to find that and say like this has completely changed my narrative, like I've seen things in a different way now. It doesn't matter if you haven't got thousands of people watching. If you're doing it for the right reasons, then continue, whether you've got 5 people watching or whether you've got like 100,000. If it's something you enjoy, then do it.
That's
And that's what I needed that time off social media to like ground myself again and think of why I started it to begin with.
yeah,
I didn't start it for anything other than I enjoy it. I've always enjoyed like content
yeah.
creation. Like that's something I've always loved, video editing. Years ago, I dressed up as Post Malone and recreated his music video side by
No,
side.
you
Yeah,
didn't.
I
Oh my
did. I'll have to send it to you. This was like going back 6 years ago now. And going back years before that, I've always made stupid videos and funny content and stuff. Before I was making it for fun, like
God.
and like silly things. Whereas now, like since sharing what happened when I got botched and like speaking out and giving other people a platform to talk about their stories as well,
Yeah,
it's like I feel like I got a purpose now to keep going
yeah,
with it. So whether, like you said, whether 3 people watch or 100 people watch, it doesn't matter as long as it's doing good. And like if it falls in the right hands, it could help
that's
people.
exactly.
So yeah,
That's exactly it. You need to send me that video, because that's what I
I
was thinking
will.
about. That is
One
absolutely
thing I can
brilliant.
notice about both of us is when the other's talking, we've got something on our tongue ready to say. Like
Yeah,
I've noticed, we're like, uh.
that's
But you
exactly.
can interrupt me, it's fine. I understand. I've interrupted you as well. But it's just like when you've got something to say, if you won't say it now, it's gone.
Yeah, that's it. I feel like, oh, I've got to say it right now, otherwise it's going somewhere else, and I don't know where it's going to go. So I need to get all my words out right now.
So with that video, I was on Unilad as well for doing the makeup because I put foil on my teeth to look like
No.
the teeth, yeah. And I did the makeup, and the amount of comments on it was like, "Oh, she looks crazy. Like she'd skin him alive and walk around with his skin on." And someone else put, I look like a £300 Post Malone, but I actually just found it comical. Like, it didn't bother me, comments like that. With rejection sensitive dysphoria, it's more people that I know personally, like if I've upset someone, or even at work, like if someone's got a different tone and they say something to me, I'm like, oh fuck, like what have I
Yeah,
done? I
literally.
hate it.
I'm exactly the same. If
Yeah,
someone, even if I think you're mad at me, what have I done? And then I
yeah,
try to think about every sort of scenario, the things that I could have done. I even start to think, but what if that wasn't what happened? What if something else happened?
yeah.
I've done something wrong. I literally go into a spiral
Sometimes
over.
I'd like think out a whole argument in
Yeah,
my head of what to say, like, oh, but this and that, and I'm
yeah,
like, it never even
no,
happens,
and then
and it's
it's
like we're
fine.
wasting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we've literally just overthought the entire scenario, and it was just something completely innocent.
Or
It's horrible. We're like our
yeah.
biggest enemies.
Or if someone goes, "Oh, can we just have a quick chat?" My heart is racing, like it actually
Yeah.
is racing. I'm like,
Especially if it's like a manager or something, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm in trouble. I think we're always going to be that way.
it's one of the things, isn't it? That I think as well, recognizing that within ourselves is something that now we know about ADHD and about how affect our day-to-day lives. I feel like it's in a way it's a bit better that we know, because then we can look at it and be like, oh,
Yeah.
actually, you know what? Just
Yeah.
take away myself
You
from
can
this
take a
for a moment.
step back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and sort of
I
assess it in
think
a different way.
actually, like, yeah, you could be like, actually, is it this,
Yeah,
or is it my ADHD making me overthink it?
yeah,
And I do find that since I found out I've got ADHD, I see things in a different light now. And I'm like, oh, it's just my rejection sensitive dysphoria.
yeah,
Like, I'm overthinking. It is like a blessing, isn't it? Knowing, like, because then you're like, oh, that makes sense now. And like, I'm less reactive as well,
yeah.
because I can sit back and think about things more before I act.
With me, part of my masking is when I'm in my own space. There's moments where, like, I think I'll sound quite blunt, and this literally happened today, which is what I would talk about. My mum was like, and I was like, that sounded blunt, didn't it? I didn't mean it in that way. And then she goes, you know what? No, it's fine, because I now know about ADHD. I understand it. And it's like, there's a level of understanding now, whereas before, maybe there wasn't that much of an understanding, and it'll be like, but I do also sit back and sort of assess my whole situation a little bit differently. Sometimes it's very hard though. If it's like quite intense emotions, it is hard to pull yourself away from that. Like,
Yeah, it
sometimes
is.
I genuinely can't. But if it's something less significant and less, impactful, where I know that in big situations I could go into a spiral. But actually, one of the things about me as well is that the small situations used to get to me more than the big situations. But it's now in the small situations I know how to sort of assess and take a step back a little bit more. I'm
Yeah.
not saying that it happens all the time, because that would be a lie.
I
But
used to have like outbursts over the littlest things. Like I
yeah,
spilt a bit of coffee once, so I chucked the mug.
yeah,
And then that made even more of a mess. But then
yeah.
I couldn't clean it because I'd be like, what have I done? Like, I can't clean that. I can't deal with it. Whereas I don't get that anymore. Like, once you sort of understand yourself and your emotions,
Yeah.
because I've done some CBT as well,
Oh yes.
cognitive behavioral therapy. At
Yeah,
the time, I didn't think it was helping. I was like, no, this isn't helping. But now I actually use a lot of the tactics they taught me during that. I'm like, oh, actually,
yeah.
it did help. When I had that CBT, I wasn't diagnosed with ADHD. Um, they actually thought at one point I had BPD, which can be misdiagnosed.
No way. So when I was 16, I went to the doctors because of, well, what I now know was ADHD, but at the time they didn't know what was going. They again, something's there that they're not
Yeah.
too sure, so they just put a BPD with a question mark. And then I looked at other things about BPD, and I was like, no, yes, there are similarities, but then there's other things that I definitely don't.
So when I first got in a relationship with my partner, we moved in together and it was all this change. So that set off my ADHD. But back then I didn't know what it was.
Yeah,
And then I had the what if he leaves me? I'm not good enough, and the doubt in myself and stuff like that.
yeah,
So they thought that was BPD because I was like having the fear of abandonment.
yeah.
That's what like they put it down to, but I don't have that anymore. Whereas someone with BPD would continue to have that
Have that.
forever, apparently.
Yeah,
So, like, and there was a lot of other symptoms with BPD I definitely did not have.
yeah.
Like, so it's just there's a lot that are the same as ADHD, but then it's got its differences. So I was never actually diagnosed with it, but like you, they put a question mark and told me to look into it.
We literally got so much in common. It's like
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? I think that's just proven that a lot of girls has been misdiagnosed with BPD when all along it is ADHD.
100%. And I feel like as well, when you look at the differences between BPD and ADHD, they are very similar, but then there are others that are quite significant differences,
Yeah,
And
massive.
when I did go to the psychiatrist about ADHD, he did completely, like, this is like obviously years later. I was 25 when I got diagnosed. He was like, I told him about the time that they did put a question mark around it, and he was like, no. And then he literally said, for ADHD, like, you've ticked every box basically,
Yeah.
for hyperactive and inattentive. So like the combined.
They've got combined too.
We literally got so much in
They
common.
were like, I've got the lot. Like
Yeah,
they said, like, because the hyperactivity is more my mind,
yeah,
and I do get the hyperactive as well, like with excitement and stuff like that. But
yeah.
I won't run around in circles. I don't run for no one. I run late. But like I do have all of the aspects, and I have the inattentive. Like it's so bad. Like my partner will be talking to me about his day and I just completely zone out, and
Yeah,
I don't mean to. Now he understands why. Like it's not that I'm being rude or that I don't care, because sometimes I can generally try and listen to the same thing over and over and I just can't take it in. I hate it. People say it's a superpower, but it's equally a curse. Like I think there's good and bad to it.
100%. Speaking about ADHD, obviously in our own personal lived experience, it's quite a hard thing really, because there is a lot of downs as well. As there are
Yeah.
moments where, like, the creativity, even though it's our personal creativity, when the ADHD does sort of come in, and when we do have dopamine, it's great and things like that. But there is a lot of things that I know I personally struggle with. So when people say it's a superpower, I'm like, I don't, like
Yeah.
a little bit like what you just said. And that's one of the things, is because I think because I know how much I sort of struggle to understand myself in my life,
Yeah.
I then look back and I'm like, oh, but is it though?
No,
It's
yeah.
hard, because there are times when ADHD can be quite beneficial, like with hyperfocus.
Creativity and stuff, yeah.
Yeah,
But then the negatives, I do think sometimes outweigh it. I think if they knew the struggles and the dark side of ADHD, they wouldn't be saying it's a superpower.
and this is one of the things about memes. I mean, I absolutely love memes. I
Yeah,
really do. Like, love them all day long. But then when it comes to some about ADHD that aren't not really about ADHD, but like surface
yeah.
level, I'm a bit like, oh, I don't know, because
It could relate to anyone sort of thing. But I do really like the funny memes, so
oh
I
yeah,
can relate to it and
yeah,
other people can. Like, if
yeah,
it is generally something ADHD, I'm like, yeah, that's me.
yeah. I over communicate to the point that I've over communicated so much that everyone is confused,
Yeah,
including
me
myself.
too. Or I'll be deep in a discussion and be like, what was I talking about again? And I've
Yeah,
completely lost what I was saying.
and
I'm
that's it.
surprised I haven't had brain fog yet, to be honest. There's been a few episodes that I've done with people. I'm like, I'm so sorry, my mind's gone completely blank. Give me a minute.
I get that 100%. And one of the things about Behind the Mask when I do the lives is I'll have my laptop next to me, and I'll just highlight once I've asked the question, so that I know that I'm on
On
to ask the
track.
following one, because I get the same thing. And my sort of, I can be here and I can be talking, but my mind could be somewhere else, and then I'll just suddenly stop, and then it's like, oh.
What was he talking about? Yeah. That's the same as me. Like right now, I'm talking to you and I'm thinking, oh, I need dinner soon. Like, what am I going to have for
Yeah,
dinner? It's like multitasking, isn't it? Like, we're having a conversation, but I'm thinking 10 other things at the same time.
yeah,
And like, people that don't understand ADHD, I've got labeled as lazy loads of times, like, because I get so overstimulated with
yeah,
stuff, like I said, like washing and putting things away.
yeah,
Like, I can put the washing on, I can put it in the tumble dryer, but when it comes to folding or hanging up, that it takes me like a few months sometimes.
yeah.
And it can come across as lazy to people that don't know, but it's just so overwhelming.
That's the
I
thing.
can't even, it's like the paralysis side of it, isn't it? Like you
Yeah,
can't bring yourself to do something. But if you told me, oh, I'll be over in an hour, I'd be whizzing around the
that's
house.
it. And then all of a sudden it'll be spotless, and I'm like, what?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
may shove things in cupboards and like under the bed, but I like literally that is what I need, is someone to be like, I'm coming over in an hour, and that then I'll get everything done.
There's been so many times where I've had like a meeting, or I've had to do something that I've gone, right, I can't forget this, I've got to go. And then it'll come round, okay, I've got 10 minutes. And then it's 20 minutes later, and I'm like, right, I forgot that I've even got that meeting. And I was trying to tell myself to remember. And then I'd get really sad because I'm like so annoyed at myself for,
I do set reminders. Like, for example, I put a reminder about this
yeah,
on my phone because otherwise it
that's
doesn't
it.
exist.
I feel like we're so similar. It's actually.
It's scary. I see, got brain fog now. It's nice to meet people on common ground that if you needed to rain check and cancel plans, it's not a big deal,
It's not, yeah,
because I've had to do it so many times and then people have got mad at me or like stopped talking to me over it, and I can't deal with that.
same. Same
Yeah,
here.
like yeah, like I would completely understand if I had a friend that had ADHD and they were like, look, I'm overstimulated. I can't people today.
Yeah.
Like after I socialize as well, I have to have a few days to myself where I'm just like, I need to unwind. I can't do any more people now. Like I just need me time. I
Yeah.
get peopled out. Like I get overstimulated. So I completely, sometimes I love it when people cancel things. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
just stay in bed. Yeah, because it's like I wanted to cancel anyway, but didn't want to get told off.
Yeah. There's been so many occasions where I've been like, oh no, it's cancelled. Oh, no, that's
That's fine. I'm like,
fine.
oh, no problem. We can just rain check. Back to bed I go. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, because there's so
Like,
many steps to doing that, isn't there? It's like, well,
yeah.
you got to get dressed, and then you got to get yourself sorted, then you got to go out, and then yeah, there's so many little steps to it that sometimes,
And
like,
I always forget something when I leave the house as
yeah,
well. Always.
I'll be honest. There's always a time that I forget. My partner Peter. He's brilliant. He's so good. He really really does support me. And he always like will remember my keys if I don't remember my keys. But when I'm going out on my own, it's different. We both know that I'll forget something, so like we'll laugh about it and stuff. In a way. But then sometimes I can get really sad with myself and like disappointed, and be like, oh, why did I forget that type of thing? But I'll always there's like never a day that I go out without like forgetting something. And I have a work badge that I wear for work. I often forget that.
Once I went out specifically to return a parcel, went to town, and that's the only reason I went out. I forgot the parcel.
Oh, yeah. I
That's
get,
my life. I go in autopilot as well. Sometimes I could have a conversation and someone say, do you not remember we spoke about that earlier? I'm like, what? No, we didn't. And I'm absolutely certain that we never spoke about it
yeah.
because our minds are on like 100 other things.
Yeah, and outside our mind is a real thing. Honestly, it really, really is. And that's just actually reminded me of when me and Peter speak sometimes, and he'll speak, and he knows that I'm on autopilot because he can tell.
Yeah.
And he goes, "What did I just say?" And I'm like,
Did
"I
it?
don't know."
Because you're just like,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
I don't know. And he knows, and we just like sort of laugh about it. But then sometimes I can feel like, "Oh no, I wish I would have like been present and remembered
It
that."
does cause guilt, doesn't it? I am so interested in what Dan has to say, and I don't mean to dissociate or like go off in my own little mind. He understands that it's genuinely not my fault
Yeah,
and that I try. And I think trying is what is important. Like if you're
yeah,
generally trying to listen, and that shows that you're making the effort, but sometimes it's impossible. Like my mind will literally be on 100 things at once.
yeah,
And like I'm sick of myself. Hobbies and stuff, I change them all the time. Like last year, I was like, I'm going to become a nail artist and bought a whole kit.
yeah,
And then I spent 8 hours doing a set of nails on myself, didn't realize 8 hours had passed.
yeah,
And then, like, January last year, I got this obsession of wanting to try surfing, but I've just not got there yet.
yeah,
But that still stayed, like, it's there in the back of my mind. It's still something I want to do. It's just I don't live near a beach. There's something called the Wave in Bristol where it's like man-made waves and stuff that you can go and like get lessons and stuff. So I am going to try that soon. Like I just think like that would be something where I've got no social media distractions, just the waves. Like it sounds
yeah,
really
yeah,
corny, but I do feel like it is something really good, and apparently
yeah,
it's like really good for mental health and dopamine as well. So I do want to really get into that, and that's something that's stayed a year now that I have been obsessing over it. And
yeah.
I've not got bored of the idea. So I even started swimming because of surfing. I was like, well, if I'm going to surf, I need to be stronger at swimming.
That's
So,
so
like,
cool.
yeah, like I get these hyperfixations from time to time and
Yeah,
then it's gone. But
yeah,
this one's stuck. Probably the same with you with pageantry. Like, before that, did you have, like, like you said, you were a DJ for a few weeks or
yeah,
something?
yeah. I was no good, but I
I've,
really tried.
yeah, but I've wasted so much money though on
Honestly,
hobbies.
I bought a DJ set, and it's somewhere now. I don't even know where it is.
I wish there was an app like Marketplace, but for ADHD people that they could swap their hobbies. So
That
like once you're bored of something, put it up, and then if someone else might, you can swap or something.
yeah,
Like that would be cool.
that would
Like
be
because we
really cool.
we change hobbies so often that it would just be ideal that you could just swap with someone else.
How cool would that be if you could just like find a new hobby and be like, right, that's it. I also love makeup as well. I used to do my makeup all of the time. I'd be going for hours and just trying different looks and stuff. And then all of a sudden I was just like, no, I don't, I don't want to do that anymore.
One
100.
of my things is shopping, like buying things. That's something I struggled with for dopamine. I get that buzz and that fix of like,
Yeah,
oh, new stuff.
yeah,
But then it
100%.
like goes away, and then I get the guilt. Then I'm like, oh,
That's
shouldn't have
it.
done that.
And then after a
So
while, you're sort of looking at it, you're like, oh,
it all builds up then, and I'm like, what do I do with all this stuff?
yeah, I completely agree. And it's always like, I'll have like the time of the month where I'm like waiting to get paid and I still get something and like, oh, got a bit of dopamine, but then I am looking at it like, oh no.
As soon as I like said, oh, I'm going to do a podcast, I went and bought £300 software to edit it on. It's not a superpower because it consumes you, and like
Oh yeah,
I'm like,
takes
I
over.
need to buy this. I never think about things for a while and then purchase. If I want it, I get it there and then.
100%. So a little bit similar with me as well, to be honest with you. There's something called ADHD tax that I've been learning about recently. So it's
Oh,
like, obviously with the payments for things, but also the forgetting payments. So like if you've got a car,
yeah.
like that you forgot to pay for your parking after you walked away, and then suddenly you've got a 60 quid fine, and that's it. That's ADHD tax for
I
you.
actually
Like,
got out of a fine because of my ADHD diagnosis. So last month, I
yeah.
didn't realise that my rail card expired a week before because it was like a
Oh,
3-year rail card. So it lasts 3 years. So in my mind, I didn't have an email, didn't have a notification that it was due to expire.
yeah.
So when I booked my tickets, it automatically adds on my rail card, and they come up and was like, scanned my tickets, and they're like, can we see your rail card? So I was like, yeah, that's fine. I got my rail card up and it said it expired a week ago, but I
No.
booked the tickets ages ago, so it was valid at the time
Oh,
of
so
like booking them. But
yeah.
they wanted to give me £120 fine there and then, and I was like, I didn't even realise it had expired. I was like, I'll pay the difference. It was for the sake of a £10 discount.
Oh my
So that
gosh.
I know
Yeah.
for the sake of a £10 discount, I was like, I can pay the difference between the ticket. I'm sorry, like I didn't realise that it had expired.
Yeah.
But there and then they were like in front of everyone. It was quite humiliating actually, like
No.
taking all my details and then giving me the fine. But I appealed it online,
Yeah.
and I just explained like I have ADHD. Unless I'm having a reminder or something, I'm not going to realise. Like,
Then that's
and it's
it.
a genuine mistake. Like, so luckily I got out of it. So
Yeah.
maybe it has its perks sometimes.
Do you ever have that thing as well where, like, you if you speak to someone that like, you've never met them before, and you're speaking to them for the first time, and then you walk on and you think, did I say that right? Did I do?
Overthinking
Yeah,
everything. Yeah.
yeah. I get that a lot.
I think that's part of like the RSD side of
Yeah,
it.
yeah,
Like a lot of people with ADHD, we try so hard to relate to other people. So someone, you could be telling me your story. I'm like, oh my God, I have that too.
yeah,
And we don't mean to like overpower anyone or overshine someone. It's just we're trying to relate. I don't mean to do it, and I feel rude, and then I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry I interrupted. And I'm very aware of it too now. I really don't mean to interrupt. I feel guilty for it, but
yeah.
we can't help it.
That 100%. Honestly, I was just thinking about that because it happened to me the other day, and I was thinking like, oh, this is something that I've struggled with for like all my life basically, and I'll get told that I interrupt too much, or that sometimes I'll get told like when I'm excited about something that I speak very fast, like I speak
Yeah, me too.
incredibly
Or
fast.
shouting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then like they just don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Like I used to have it where if I get really excited about something, I'd actually be
Yeah.
like we can't regulate our emotions like other
No,
people.
that's it exactly, and it's like it can be really, really hard because then it can really internalize it, and then we'd be thinking about it for ages. One of the things as well that I do is if I am worried about a situation where I'm like worried about social interaction, I will literally be up until like 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and I'll think about things that happened like 10 years ago, and like, oh, I
Yeah.
should have said this, or I should have done this differently, and it's like 10 years ago. Like, why am I
Yeah.
thinking about it on a random
I
Thursday
have that
night?
too.
Yeah,
I literally it's so consuming, isn't it? Like you just
yeah,
can't crack on, and like Dan is like the calm to my storm. So like I'll talk to him about something that's happened and how upset I am, but he sort of helps me see it from a perspective of why is it getting to you? These people, they're just people you work with. Don't let their opinions get to you. If, for example, like if someone's snapped at me at work, he's like, just let it go. Can't like everyone, but still the rejection sensitive thing. It's like, why don't they like me?
yeah,
Like,
one
what have I
hundred percent.
done?
No, I completely get where you're coming from in that as well. I'm exactly the same.
Yeah. If you don't like them, why should it matter if they like you? Like, it's mutual, but you can't like process it that way.
One of the things I like to think about as well is that we're all in this human experience, and not everyone is meant to get along with everyone. Everyone's supposed
No.
to have different ideas and different thoughts, and it's
Opinions.
one of the things about
Yeah.
humanity, and it's why we're all have different, make different things and are all different in our own ways. But if everyone got along, it'd be really boring.
It would be really boring.
But
Like, you
yeah.
need those differences.
No, that's another thing you just reminded me about. Like, if you ever seen the terms of reference or terms of agreements and things like that, do you ever
I
just
never
like,
read them.
yeah? And I think that's such a common
It's
thing,
probably,
especially with ADHD as well.
yeah. I just like scroll to the bottom,
Yeah,
agree.
yeah,
And we
I'm
could
very,
literally be signing our lives away.
yeah, I can be really impatient with that sort of stuff as well.
I wouldn't be able to absorb it. Like, if I
Yeah,
was sat there reading it, I'd be reading the same sentence over and over again. I
yeah,
wouldn't be able to take it in. And I struggle with reading books as well. Like, I'll be reading the same page over and over and I just give up them because I'm like, I can't take it in. What's the point? That's why I
100%.
love movies because it's simple. But
Yeah,
even with films, sometimes if I'm not into it, I'll be rewinding it and rewinding it and rewinding it to the point where it's took me a whole day to watch one episode or one thing,
yeah.
and then I just give up then. So I have to really love something to complete it.
To be fully invested in it, and if you're fully invested, it's fine. If not, then it's like, well, that's going to take
If not,
quite
I'm
a
on
long
my
time.
phone and doing everything
Yeah,
but watching it. And
yeah,
poor Dan, the amount of times he's had me pause something because I'm distracted or rewind it,
yeah.
I do feel for him. But yeah,
Honestly, it sounds very similar to my partner Peter.
pausing it again. Yeah, literally.
Yeah.
Or I'll talk to him. I'll be laying in bed and he's trying to sleep, and I'll be like, "Oh, guess what? This," and he's like, "Leah, I'm trying to sleep." Our
Yeah,
minds just like are constantly, like everything's on our minds at night time, and I'm like,
yeah,
"Well, why are you trying to sleep? I want to talk."
yeah. That's it.
But then
100%.
earlier, like when I was actually free and not doing anything, I didn't have all those like conversations and stuff. Like,
Yeah,
it's just really weird how our minds work.
no,
So
100%.
with this episode, I'm thinking I'm going to try and not edit as much as possible to make it as
Yeah,
raw and real of what ADHD is. Even if we've changed topic, that's just what ADHD is. So I'll keep it as raw as possible, even if we're interrupting each other. Like,
yeah.
that is ADHD.
It is, isn't it? And that's one of the things about it is if we're talking about these things that we might struggle with, or that that's our personal experience, and that's the authenticity of it, isn't it? So
Yeah,
100%, like,
keeping it raw and
yeah.
real.
And also, I want to say the best of luck with your pageant as well. Honestly, I feel like you're going to get the pageant bug after this. It's
This is something I was going to ask you at the beginning of the call, but then I got distracted and forgot. So the pageants that you've done, do they ever get you to do like a talent section or anything?
so for Miss Great Britain, the one I did
Yeah.
in October, that had a talent round.
What
Um,
did you do?
I did singing and I came second.
Oh, I sing as
Yeah.
well.
No way!
Yeah.
Oh, that's
I've
amazing.
always loved singing. I play guitar as well, but singing
No,
is my strong. Yeah.
you play guitar as well. I've just bought. Oh, how did I not remember this? I've got a ukulele. I bought a
I've got a
ukulele.
ukulele.
No, you do as well.
Yeah.
Mine's pink. I've got
Oh,
it.
mine was like a brown, like bog standard ukulele, but yeah, so I can play ukulele too.
Honestly, I learnt it in a day, and I was like, just
Me
playing.
too. I learnt guitar from YouTube. So
No.
I watched YouTube and watched the positioning of the fingers and stuff, and
Oh,
that's how I
that's
learnt guitar.
that's so cool. I can't even believe that I forgot to say that. It's such a new thing as
Yeah.
well. And then I was sending my family in the family group chat. I was sending them all of these like guitar, no, ukulele, songs, and they're just like, okay. And then an hour later, here's another one.
A good ukulele song is "Island in the Sun." It's like hip hip
Oh
when
yeah,
you're on a hol. That's a really
I
good
know
one
the
for
one.
the ukulele.
Oh, I'm gonna do that
Yeah.
now. You said it.
It's really easy as well. Like the first song
Yeah,
I learned on guitar was Wonderwall because that's so easy. Like two
yeah,
fingers stay in the same place the whole time.
yeah,
So that's like what introduced me to it. And then I would try more things then. And I had a couple of lessons in school,
yeah,
but to be honest, I learnt the majority of it by myself.
yeah,
That's the thing. Like ADHD can help you master anything. Like it comes to creative stuff, I can do it all almost. Like yeah,
yeah.
drama. I love performing arts in school. Like all of that stuff, I love. It's just the sticking to them.
I get what you mean. And one of the things
Yeah.
about pageants is it's on a stage as well, and it's like even though it's not performing arts, it's that sort of environment of being out there on the stage
Yeah,
in your element, basically. So if you do
yeah,
love that sort of stuff, I'm sure that when you go onto the pageant stage, you're just gonna absolutely love it. So I'm
Yeah,
really
I'm
looking
sure I
forward to
will.
doing it, honestly. And I know firsthand how nerve-wracking your first ever pageant can be, but I had the best time. It has honestly changed my life.
I've already got my sash for the pageant. And I used to think years ago you only got a sash if you were a winner. During it, you start to realise it's not what you think.
Yeah, no, and one of the things about pageants as well is that I feel like you meet so many other people that you then end up becoming really great friends with. Like loads of my really, really, really good friends are now from pageants, you know. And I feel like I've met a lot of people, like you said, a lot of neurospicy people as well that I've connected with, and people that just get me in a different way, you know.
When you connect with someone that much, like, and you meet them during something you're so passionate about, you
Yeah,
know you're just going to be friends for life. Like, you just
exactly.
know.
Yeah,
It's nice. Like,
100%.
I've met so many friends since being on my weight loss journey because I've connected with people more and like put
Yeah,
myself out there.
yeah.
And a lot of people then have also got ADHD, and I'm finding that common ground, which I struggled with in school. Like when you're in school, yeah,
Then
you make friends, but you're forced to be with them every day.
yeah,
So like
100%.
you may not have ever been friends if it wasn't for the fact you were in school together. Whereas like now, making friends at our age, I think it hits differently because you're friends because you want to be and you're choosing to spend that time with them.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Being in this pageant world has really taught me a lot about myself as well, and about how much, if I believe in myself, I can actually do, some really cool things. It's not always about the win either. It's about, being proud of myself and my accomplishments, and that's something that I've taken through
Yeah,
the
that's a
2
win
years.
anyway.
Yeah, when I done my on-stage answer at Miss Great Britain, I was really nervous about the on-stage question because I was scared that I'd forget the question.
Yeah.
And there was like, so many people, and I'm like, what if I don't make sense and things like that? And I was just like, loads of things were going through my mind. And when I actually done it and I come off, I felt so euphoric because, oh my gosh, I've done it. I remembered the question. I answered it, to the best of my ability. That literally just happened because I had an ounce of belief in myself that you can do this, you know.
Yeah.
And I think that it's moments like that that I'll remember as, being like the highlights,
I
really.
do think like if you tell yourself you can do it, mindset is so strong. If I put my mind to something and I say I'm gonna do it, I do it
Yeah,
and I prove myself right.
yeah.
So I do think like that positive mindset, as hard as it can be sometimes, it really does help us.
Oh, 100%.
Even if other people think we're delusional,
Yeah,
like
that's
me, I was
true.
like, I'm going to start this podcast. I'm going to do it and I'm going to stick to it because, like, it is something I really enjoy. And I see it as just like, now we've never spoken before, but look how much we've clicked and like related to each other. It's putting
100%.
yourself out there. And even if all that comes from it is making new friends or helping one or two people that might be listening, it's worth it.
Yeah, 100%. And what you're doing is absolutely amazing because I know that people are going to be listening and, get really resonating and finding comfort.
Like we could have done with this when we were in school, like listening to other girls talk about their experiences, and that's why I'm so raw online. Like if it helps one person feel normal or like that they can relate, then it's worth it.
No, I understand that completely. And I feel like, doesn't it as well bring a certain level of resilience because you know how much you are empowered within yourself to then be able to help other people in that way, and then it builds up confidence within yourself and the resilience as well, I feel like. And especially when when putting yourself out there on social media, it can be really hard for someone at first because you think about all of the things like, oh, what are they going to say and things, but like you've just said, when you think about the outcome and about helping other people, that just goes out the window, really, doesn't it?
That's what inspired me to do the podcast. So I think from bad situations, something good always comes out of it.
Yeah,
Like,
100%.
because sharing my story, I did get so much support, and I was like, I want to give other people a voice as well. Anything like good stories, bad stories, just giving people that voice and like that validation and to feel like they're being listened to. Like, that's what I wanted.
Yeah, 100%. And what you're doing is going to be helping so many other people. And sometimes, once because we're on social media, we're not always going to see who's watching, so you never actually know. You might be helping more people than
Yeah.
you realise. So
Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much for coming on.
it's
It's
been
really lovely
brilliant.
talking to you.
It's really lovely talking to you as well. We've got so much in common. It's so cool. Also, you're going to have the best time at the pageant. You really
I
are,
can't
honestly.
wait.
And honestly, I know it can be nerve wracking, but when you're there and you're in it, you're gonna have the best time. I promise you. Like,
Yeah.
you're just gonna absolutely love it. So if you
I'll
ever
have to
want to
keep
talk
you
about,
updated.
yeah, if you ever want to talk about pageants as well, I'm here. Like, I've done quite a few
Thank
now,
you.
so I'm more than happy
I'll be
to go.
coming to you for tips and tricks.
That's it. I mean, I don't know if I'm that good at it, but I'll give you all the tips I've got.
I'm sure you're brilliant.
Oh, thanks so much, and I hope you
Thank you as well.
have a lovely weekend as well.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.